Welcome to Tree Doctors, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We're at the heart of Batesville at the Federal Building, and today Ed's going to show you how to fill a hole in a tree with concrete and so much more. It all begins right now on Tree Doctors.
You know, some trees have insect problems, some just have construction damage. Well, we can handle them both generally at the same time. I'm using a soil injection here, building a mold of chemicals all around the root ball. It gets translocated into the crown of the tree. It has a very long residual. Stays working for a year or better, killing insects as well as growing new feeder roots and increasing the canopy of the tree. 9 different chemicals is going in this at once. So there's so much we can do that we used to couldn't do, and it's in most cases it's cheaper than it used to be. And just name me just any one thing that's come down in price. Well, taking care of your trees have come down in price. Give us a call. You'll be surprised. We're the Tree Doctor, Dickey Tree Service, in your yellow pages under trees.
Let's go out in the field and catch up with the head tree doctor of Dickey Tree Service, Ed Dickey, right now on Tree Doctors.
I want to talk a little bit about tree surgery. A lot of you has watched the show from time to time. Back in '99 is when I put the concrete in this tree, and you can see how it's closed over from that time. It's very important, like I've said many times before, to get the concrete inside the cambium, so the cambium will actually totally close over it. Here in another 4 or 5 years, show's still on, we'll come back here and visit this and you'll see where it's closed up quite a bit more, maybe all the way. But since we was here a couple of years ago, it's closed up about 3 or 4 inches on each side. So that helps the strength of the tree as well as stops further deterioration back there, where if you clean that out properly and treat it before you put the concrete in. So a lot of your handyman folks out there, you can do that and help your tree and make your tree a little stronger. And if you just do it properly, your tree will last a long time. You'll be glad you did. We're here in Batesville, and we're here at the Federal Building. Here with me is James Young. And James, why don't you tell our viewers what was going on with these trees when you called me in?
They have an annual tree survey done on our trees, and when we looked at them, they were beginning to split. So we had to get something done about those before our trees fell plumb over, and I called you in to see what we needed to do. And that's what happened.
Yes, sir. And as most people know, with the Bradford pears, they're notorious about growing against themselves, and this being a main part of Batesville, y'all wanted to preserve these trees, didn't you?
Yes, we did. They told me to get a survey done, and then once we got the survey done, they said go ahead and get the repairs done that we needed. So we called you in to do our doctoring.
Right, and we'll be showing you here in a second all the different rods that had to go in there. There's a number of them, 5 or 6 in each tree, wasn't it, James?
Yes, 5 in each tree.
And that's the viewers will be able to see it. It'll prolong the life of these trees quite a bit. And you're going to do a little bit of a minor pruning too here in the future, aren't you?
Yes, we're going to prune them when the leaves fall off. We're going to go ahead and prune them back and shape them up the way they ought to be.
All right, next year these really ought to be pretty. We'll come back over here and look and see how they look, and just see how this pays off for the long run.
I think they'll turn out really great. They look good now.
We moved around here to the second tree, and James, how long have you been with your present job here?
Been with them 9 months.
And what's your occupation?
I'm building maintenance for this particular building here.
So you keep everything going about it. It's one of the biggest buildings in Batesville too, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's a pretty good job.
Right, and what is this actually? It's the Federal Building?
Yes, it is the Federal Building. We got court upstairs, post office on the first floor.
Okay. Well, this is important to keep these trees looking pretty. And when I was doing this, and James was very helpful too, by the way, when we was here putting these in, I pointed out some limbs that's cross branches that it'll be real easy seeding this fall, but I'm pouring them out to James now, and you're going to get remedy of those too, aren't you?
Yes, we are. We're going to have all of our tree trimming done, but I want to wait till this fall when the leaves are off the trees.
Right. That way the tree can store the starches and the sugars through the summer. So you'll be coming out like gangbusters next year after he cuts all that out of there. Well, I want to thank you for taking a minute talking about these trees, James, and we'll come back here and maybe next spring we'll see how these trees do.
Well, I hope they look real good next spring. We're going to try and get them all shaped up the way they ought to be for next spring.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm here in Tuckerman, and as you can see, this is a big old oak tree, and it has an extremely large cavity in it. And the superintendent of the schools here called us in, wanted me to save this tree and fill this cavity. We treated the tree and, of course, sprayed inside it, cleaned out all of the dead and pieces of wood that was in there. I actually got a lot of standing room in there. Then what I had to do is I had to make forms. Behind this plywood that's screwed on there is 2x that actually go inside the tree. That way you're not closing in this cambium. So if you do this from home, pay close attention later on how I'm taking this off, how this was done, because it's important that you do this correctly. If you don't, you're just wasting your time. Now, of course, the concrete truck poured up to right here. This piece was missing. It shot it in there. After that, we had to put a piece on here and actually poured it in from the concrete scoop up through there and filled it. All the while we was tapping on this, bringing out any air. Because you got to remember, this is about 5 foot deep. Now, what makes this project a little different than most is it was almost like an ice cream cone inside, or let me say it another way, almost like an Indian teepee inside. So this winter, when the ground would get moist, I was afraid that the concrete that I'd poured in there would actually sink and settle. So what I did is I put 3 bracing rods all the way through the tree. One here, and one here. What that will do, that locks in and holds that concrete so it doesn't settle out in the winter when the temperature changes below freezing and it gets wet. So that's something to consider when you're doing a big cavity like this, what's going to happen after, several months or several years down the road. And that's the way we look at things when we do it. And a few seconds here, I'm going to get started and start taking this loose, and you can kind of watch what I'm doing, and then we'll talk about it after you get on.
Daddy phoned to tell us that old tree might have to come down. The one I had the tree house in and chased my wife around. He said a neighbor showed him where it was busting at the trunk. And if the snow got heavy, it could crack down to the stump. We got to save our family tree. It's such a big part of our history. What a nostalgic sight to see. We got to save our family tree. Grandpa said they planted it when he was just 8 years old. His mama kept the clods broke up while his daddy dug the hole. I phoned up a friend of mine that lives in our hometown. He said he knew a tree doctor didn't like to cut trees down. The man went out and checked our tree and bolted it back together. He said it would last a lifetime, no matter what the weather. We got to save our family tree. It's such a big part of our history. What a nostalgic sight to see. We got to save our family tree. Yes, we got to save our family tree.
Well, as you can see, we got this big cavity in this oak tree took care of. It took a few days and quite a bit of work, and I couldn't done it without Randy, Ron, or Hop to helping me, but we got it knocked out. I also want to thank JR. He's the concrete driver for the Mobley Concrete Company, the construction company that brought the concrete out of Newport. And he'd been driving for him for over 50 years, and he never had brought concrete to a tree. So maybe we put a little life in his day for putting concrete in a tree, and maybe he'll put some more for you, retires. But this is what a tree looks like when it's done, and all I got to do now is just I'm going to put a wound dressing on it, a black wound dressing, and that will kind of help seal it. But the concrete there under this is just a masking that you see at the top. As the tree closes over and seals itself, it will gradually flake off. But the concrete underneath there is, you know, what does the work and does the holding. We'll do one more shot here after I get it painted up, and I also want to thank Chester Shannon. He's the superintendent here at Tuckerman, who had enough foresight to see he could save this tree instead of cutting it down. And I think that people in this town will see this tree being around for a long time to come. So that's what it looks like when it's done. I'll briefly go over what it entails to fix a tree like this. It was a rotted out hollow tree that had borer problems. Actually, my helper Randy got in that tree several times, and we hauled a big load of stuff out of the actual inside of that tree, of rotted product. I put these 3 bracing rods through it to support to hold on to the concrete, so when it thaws and dries out and everything over the course of 2 or 3 winters, that this concrete don't just slip down like in a teepee or a ice cream cone or whatever. It will hold it affixed to the tree, and it's permanent. I put the forms inside the cambium and then a cover on it so that when the concrete was poured, that the concrete would dry inside the cambium and let it lap over. And eventually, it won't take too long, just a few years, and we'll come back and visit this tree. You'll see it's closing over. The concrete poured about this high from the truck. We had to put the forms and put it in with a little scoop up higher and close that in. At the time I poured it, there was some extra concrete left, and I poured a little extra pier down here at the bottom. When I went home and reviewed my pictures I'd taken, I seen that I didn't need that. So Randy wasn't very happy when we come back and I had him bust that out, but he got that done anyway. But this is the way it should look, and so that goes to show you, even when we do mess up, we fix it. But I think in years to come, everybody's going to be pleased at how this works and how this tree looks. And that's how you fix a cavity in a tree. And I neglected to mention, after we cleaned all that out, we treated this tree and killed out all the borers and stuff and let it set a few days for the chemical to soak in, and before we attempted to fill it, which is a very important fact. You got to try to get that tree healthy before you try to fix it. So I think it's going to be there for a long time. We've got this tree about wrapped up here in Tuckerman. And here with me is Bill Caldwell. And Bill, you teach here at Tuckerman School?
That's right, I'm the agri teacher here.
Yes, sir. Well, what do you think about what we done to this old oak tree with a hole in it?
I believe it'll save it.
Yes, sir. And how many years you been here with the school?
This is my 14th, starting the 14th.
So you kind of watch this hole just get a little worse over the years, haven't you?
That's right.
Yes, sir. And I was telling the viewers earlier before, I was tickled that Mr. Shannon, Chester Shannon, had us fix this, because this tree's going to be here a while, don't you think?
I hope so.
Now you're kind of into what we're doing here in the agri part of it too, and your question to me a little while ago was what was it about the drill bits?
I was wondering where you found one that long.
Well, we kind of cheat on that. We weld the extension on our drill bits, and once your drill bit gets full, you just kind of pull it out. And the flute of the drill bit, if you got a solid tree, it's no trouble if it's a hollow tree like this to start with, but even if it's a solid tree, you fill that flute of that and pull it out and stick it back in there, and you can drill a 12-foot hole. I have done it before.
Looks good.
All right, well, I thank you for taking time to talk to us about this tree, and you'll be right here watching it every day, won't you?
I sure will.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I got a tip for you about the insecticide you use. People forget that when it gets old, it don't work as good as it would when it's fresh insecticide. We put it in our carports and our storage shed. It might freeze, it might not. Well, either way, time runs out on it, and it's weak. So try to keep your insecticide, like take for example, I was checking the date on this one, and it's very difficult to find the date, by the way, on the insecticide. But I know how to do it, and this one was produced in '94. That's pretty old. Now, if you want to get rid of this stuff and you brought it at the hardware store, I'm thinking that the landfill will take it. You don't have to pour it out nowhere and mess up the environment. You just screw that cap on tight and put it in your landfill container and send it on its way. It's set up to take stuff like that. If that's wrong, somebody call and tell me, but I don't believe that's wrong, because if you can buy it at a local store and use it, you can get rid of it that way. I'm not talking about commercial insecticide. I'm talking about this homeowner stuff that everybody's got that they bought off the shelf. Here's one that was made in 1988. People still have it. I mean, it's old, it's not any good. I'm not saying you could drink it. It'd probably be deathly sick and all that, but it's not going to kill the bugs as effectively as it would when it was new. So get rid of that old stuff and get you some of the new product, and you'll have more control when you do spray your bugs and stuff. And think of it like your aspirins and stuff. You want to be taking aspirins that was made back in 1982. You want to get rid of that headache. Well, you want to get rid of that headache of the bugs too. So get rid of that old spray and buy you some new stuff if you were trying to spray, and see if it don't do better. You'll be glad you did. I'm here right outside of Batesville with Micah and Mike Klaus. And Mike, won't you tell me what was going on back in the spring when you called me in?
Well, we had the beetles in our trees for many years here, and we've lost 6 of these hybrid pines every year, and I have to cut them up and burn them. Of course, we had a lot to start with, but the ones that are left were real critical to me to save them. And that's the reason I wanted to bring you over here and let you do something to these trees.
Yes, sir. And when I got here, he'd had a little trouble too out of these pecans, and we did a lot of treating with them. And you just made a statement about how the pecans look to you after they got treated.
Well, my mother made the comment that the foliage, she came over the other day and looked, and she's a tree woman. Yeah. She loves trees, and she made the comment that the foliage was much better on these pecan trees this year.
Right. When you treat them, it gets a darker, greener looking color to the leaves, and just makes it a healthier tree. And why don't you tell the viewers what you do here?
Well, I have apartments here at Quail Valley Estates Apartments, and then we have the horse ranch on the outside edge of it here.
Yeah, the horses really intrigue me. You got some pretty horses. How many horses you got all together?
There's, Micah says 32. I always stop at 30.
You ride them?
Yeah.
You like riding horses?
Mhm. I only ride. There's only 2 that I ride, but yeah. Other than that, Daddy rides the rest of them.
All right. Mike's wife Patsy has joined us out here, and we got some horses too. And tell us a little bit, Patsy, about these horses. What horses we got here?
Well, this is Sparkles. She's a quarter horse. This is Mr. Dillon. He's a quarter horse. He's a Cremella with blue eyes. They're really great horses. They're nice. They're gentle. He's a stallion, so that shows you he's a pretty good boy right here.
Next season, he'll throw palominas and buckskins.
Next season, he'll be throwing what now?
Palominas and buckskins, because he is a Cremello, and the book says that when he throws on brown and chestnut mares, it's 100% guaranteed to throw buckskins and palomina colts. That's the reason he's saved up for next season breeding, and he is a very special horse.
Oh, I guess. And y'all give him special treatment too, don't you?
Yes, we do.
Michael, what do you ride this little horse?
No, he's too young. She's too young.
She's too young. How young is this horse?
It was born this year, like March, somewhere right in there. And her name's Biscuit.
They're awful pretty horses. Well, tell us a little bit, Mike, about that one you got there.
This is a registered quarter gelding. He's 2. He's never bucked a day in his life. I have a field full of these things, and Patsy said this was a quarter horse, but actually this is a registered paint horse. This Sparkles this is Rusty. He's dirty, as you can see, but he's a pretty rusty color. And now this is an unusual color. It's kind of a bronzy color, but as you can tell, these horses are special yard animals. These are not field animals. These are raised right here with us close, and we handle these horses a lot, and they're real gentle. They got good dispositions. All of them do. Now, all the large horses, we do ride these horses regularly. All of our big horses ride.
But now, all of these horses are registered too, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. We've got registered paint horses. We've got registered quarters, registered Arabians, registered Missouri Foxtrotters. Patsy rides a walking horse, which is a racking horse, like a Tennessee Walker, almost same thing.
Mike, when I was here in March, you've done a little creative stuff yourself with the hay and stuff around the base of these pines, haven't you?
Yes, we bought 98 bales of hay, and half of it was last year's hay, and we've put 2 and 3 round bales around each tree trying to cover the roots like mulch.
Right, yeah, they was exposed so bad, and it bothered me a little bit, and he had me treat these pines, and we got one we're experimenting with today to see what we can, with this problem he's got going on, and I'm going to be back later in the week and see what happens there. But you never have a fertilizer problem, I guarantee you, out here, do you, Mike?
No, we sure don't.
How many acres you got here, these?
We only have 9 acres and 30 horses on it, and when it rains, it's really rich.
Oh, I bet it is. And, well, I know it keeps Patsy, you and Micah busy just running out here feeding them and taking care of them, doesn't it?
Yes, sir, it sure does.
But you love it. You can tell the way y'all smiling.
Yeah.
It's hard work, but it's our fun time, too, at the same time.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. Look here, one wants in here with us. There ain't nothing wrong with that.
It's okay. Let her go.
But she wants a little freedom, too. We'll catch her up. But when I come back over here, I'll try to bring my cameraman. We'll talk a little bit more, and we'll just see how much our experiment worked on this tree here, Mike.
All right. We'll see you Thursday.
All right. This is a tip for forming a battle plan for what to do with your established trees that you got on a lot that you hadn't cleaned up yet. I recommend you take a piece of this ribbon. You can get it in any lumber shed or supply store. Tie it about breast, tie it about the trees, on the trees that you're thinking about getting rid of. Go over your whole lot and do that. Have them on it. You can leave them on there for several weeks if you want to. Now, after you get it all tagged and ready to go, live with that a little while and then make a decision. If you change your mind, it's as simple as coming out here and putting your finger on it and pulling that one off and leaving the others. But it's a starting point, and you got a battle plan there. And once you have decided 100% that's what you want to do, well, turn somebody loose with a chainsaw, or you get a saw or an axe or whatever and get out there and get rid of those. But if you don't have a battle plan, that lot's never going to get cleaned up. You clean that lot up right, them other trees that you relieve are going to do a lot better. You'll be glad you did that. I'm here in Jonesboro, and here with me is Mike Rayborn. And Mike, why don't you tell the viewers what was going on with y'all's trees a little over a year ago when you called us in?
About a year ago, we had 2 big trees in the backyard that were losing a lot of leaves, some dead limbs. Trees just didn't look very healthy.
Right, and what had happened, and I came in and treated the trees for Mike, and the trees look well now after that, don't they?
Yeah, they look good. They look good.
Reason why I'm back, and his wife had called and left word for me to come over here, and we got a little different problem now, don't we, Mike?
Well, yeah, she saw a bunch of bugs and thought they were beetles or something along that line, and got all excited last weekend. She was on the phone leaving messages trying to get a hold of you, come check the tree again.
Right, well, what it is where they had a large branch that I'd had them cut last year because it was dead. Bees have took up residence in that branch, and it's a whole big beehive going on there, and you can really see them working, can't you?
Yeah, yeah. So far, not up close.
There you go. Yeah, you need to stay clear of that. But they really don't hurt anything. They're just looking for a den, and they will move, eventually move. And even if they do take up residence there for a while, they don't hurt anything. And that's what I wanted to tell Mike and his wife, Terry. And while I was here, you had some one other tree that we had worked on last year. Indeed, the borers did get back in. Is that right?
Yeah, we had 2 or 3. We hadn't even noticed it, but 2 or 3 spots you pointed out when you came back were going to be a problem down the road. So fortunately, came check one tree that was okay and found another tree that had a little problem.
That's right. And what do you do, Doc?
Cardiovascular surgeon.
Yes, sir. Here in Jonesboro.
Yes, sir.
And we was talking off camera, and you had showed me what was left of the remains. You had some boats hurt during Katrina, didn't you?
Well, we had 2 boats and trailers and duck hunting gear and fishing gear all down in Port Sulphur, Louisiana, and all we've got left in the backyard now, the remnants of 2 trailers, which I'm going to get back on the road with some boats and motors again.
Oh, heck. It really tore up everything down there, didn't it?
It really is in pretty bad shape, yeah. Really
Yes, sir. Is. Now, you were down there for, how long have you been here in Jonesboro?
Been back up here 12 years.
Yes, sir. But you lived there a good while, didn't you?
10 years down there.
Yes, sir. Well, I wish them the best down there. They're recovering slowly, aren't they?
Yeah, it's my son still lives down there, but they got a ways to go. They're going to have a hard time getting back where they were.
Yes, sir. That's what I'm hearing.
It's a great place to live.
Oh, I bet, right there on that coast.
Mm-hmm. It was fun.
Yeah. You like that Cajun cooking?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I do.
Well, Doc, I appreciate you taking a minute out of your busy day to talk about your trees.
Thanks for coming out so quick.
Yes, sir. And maybe we'll visit back here later on. We'll see what happens to these bees.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you now.
You know, this is just about like that tree at Tuckerman. I couldn't hardly get in it either. But I guarantee you that one at Tuckerman looks a whole lot better than this one does now. Remember, we can take care of those hollow trees. You'll be glad you did. You know, great strides have been made in the chemical community as the technology come available now where you don't need to cumbersome capsules to tree, and we can put actually 9 or 10 different products at one time in a tree. You can see it boiling out from around the base of that as I'm injecting this into the soil ball. Amino acids, different miticides, insecticides. We can choose what we want to treat for, and we get a long residual from this. So you get a year's worth of good or longer out of our injection when we do a tree. An actual molt of chemicals put around your tree, and it's all moisture activated. So as the weather hits it or the rain, it supercharges it again and carries through the tree. So to get rid of your unwanted insects or to revive a tree to put new life in it, you know, that's what we do. We put the zap back in the sap. We give new life to old trees. That's what we do. We're the tree doctors. Dickey Tree Service in your yellow pages under trees.
Well, that's all the time we have today for Tree Doctors. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, you can get in touch with Ed Dickey at dickeytree.com, or you can call the number below. Thanks again. We'll see you next time for Tree Doctors.